you're drinking. Fuck that coffee shit.
I moved to beer.
Andy, I'm with you. We're down to, unless I go to beer, down to all that's left, and I'm having a nice Chardonnay.
Oh,
You did go into the parade.
I went in to change out of my Chelsea jersey because I didn't want to get a Bloody Mary drip onto it. And then I changed into this shitty old T-shirt, and then I went to make a Bloody Mary and realized we drank all the vodka. So I'm like, oh, fuck.
Rookie moves, man.
Totally, dude.
In this day and age.
Completely.
So we're waiting for Chad. Are we pre-broadcast right now?
Dude, this is the fucking after party, dude. Just relax. Just
let's
have
give
a seat. We're in the green room right now.
Whoa, Chardonnay. Back up. I wasn't jumping on anyone.
I'm
wow.
Chill out, bro, man.
Can you put him on the other screen till Chad gets in?
Well, yeah, if he calls in on Chad's Skype.
Oh, actually, I think the squirrel's closer to the mic than Andy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, squirrel, man. It's over. You heard about the Doberman. That shit's real.
I hate saying shout out, but Todd with that fucking intro for the Patreon is awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
He while you were in Panama on your sojourn, he's like, hey, I got this new thing I want to show you guys before I do it. I go, just do it. This is not one of those podcasts where we're concerned with branding and how everything looks. Do it, and we'll tell you how it looks live.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was great, and people, Todd Walker, yes, people were commenting on Patreon or on Twitter, one of them, about where all those things were taken from, and I'm an old guy. I don't understand where any of those clips came from or what they were doing or what. It looks like video game stuff.
And I think those were made up from different backgrounds and options. He drew those himself.
But I thought but from what it sounded like, is like he pulled from a bunch of different video games, which I think is awesome. Yeah. No, we're old. We don't know. Yeah.
No, I know all that shit.
Yeah.
So the first beat is from Gorillaz. No.
It was a Gorillaz.
It was a tweet. Andy got the same tweet.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Gorillaz song.
Yeah. It's the only one I remember.
That's the only one I remember.
That Feel Good Incorporated. That one's good.
That's the one, yeah.
But I know it, but I couldn't tell you how it went right now. So how well do I know it?
You could sing it if it was on.
As well as my mom.
That's what I mean. It would have to be on.
I sent you guys a picture of JL. I found it on my phone in the break. Just so you can see. This is a picture that was not that long ago.
Shaylee, can you put it up?
And that's the building where I got the...
I don't. Where did you send it, Andy?
I sent it to our email, that chain.
Oh, yeah. We have a
message.
That's the building that I got the bleach thrown on me. I guess. That picture's old enough because that building's gone, or at least I think so. At least.
All right.
But anyway, he's like, he would be a good match with Chad Shank back in the day. It would be like
just hang on a second, Andy. Don't start talking about it till we see if we can put the picture up. Because
I have to open email. Can you send it?
No, it's on your phone. It's on your phone.
You send it in the text.
There you go. Email.
Okay.
I mean, it's one thing.
Let me hold my phone up.
Phone email.
Phone
email. Your phone email. Called text, I guess. Anyway. Hey, man.
You guys talk for a minute, and
I don't get texts, man. That's why I just found out that Erickson was alive today after he left with Tony Hinchcliffe 3 days ago. So
right. Well, I just saw on Twitter that somebody was saying, is that Patreon episode going to get put up? So
I didn't know it wasn't.
Because you're in the fog of Tony Hinchcliffe.
Well,
I get it. No, I get it.
Kill Brett.
He's the golden pony. Think about that, Shayla.
Yeah, but if comedy doesn't come back, he needs an audience for his podcast, right? So
yeah,
he's probably his golden pony right now. He's probably hoping
to be that way.
He's hoping to get on our podcast. That's
no one's hoping to get on our podcast.
Well, there is one person, and that person
he did come over here.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever let that person on because the first rule of this podcast is you shouldn't want to be on here. I guess, or maybe that's the second rule.
You shouldn't want to be. You shouldn't want to be a member of any club that would have you as a member.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You should at least have to be talked into it.
Yeah. He probably just put on his hat and threw back his hair instead. Imagine that.
I think Chad's having internet issues today.
I emailed you, Shaylee.
Great, but why didn't you just put it in the text, like our messaging on Skype?
I fucked up. I fucked the whole thing up. This
Andy,
is the
I'm not talking. I'm not talking to you.
Listen, I don't know. I think I might play the Doberman. It's back, and it's like I gave it some nuts, and then we'll see how it goes. But I might play a fucking dog. I think I need to control this situation. You know,
I got bit by a Doberman when I was about 7 or 8 years old. The neighbor behind us had a Doberman that was always along the fence line, like blah, 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 like vicious, right? And one day it chewed through the fence, like the cedar slats, chewed through the fence to get into our yard. And then the neighbor was looking through the fence, like shining, like just, he's all right. He's all right. And so he's pulling on one side, and he goes, push him from behind and he'll go. And my twin brother is on the collar pulling to try to get this dog to go through a slat like this, right? It's a full-grown Doberman. The Doberman turned around and fucking bit me, put my whole head in his mouth and bit me. There was a puncture wound on the top of my head and underneath, like right inside where the jawbone is, right?
Oh my God.
Wow. Never went to the hospital because my parents just would never, like, he didn't like grab and like a police dog, but he punctured. There were 2 wounds. There were 2 things that needed a cold compress on it. And the only thing I remember is one, him going, "That's all right. He'll be fine. Just push." And I was pushing, which lesson, pull, don't push. Pull, don't push. And the other thing is I never went to the hospital. It was a, "You're fine. Do you want some Kool-Aid" type thing.
Seems like it'd be easier to tell you and your brother apart now. Greg's the one that's been disfigured by the Doberman. Yeah, I see it now. His ear's gone, right?
But his whole head, he turned around and put my whole fucking head in his mouth because there was evidence of it, man. Yeah, I was scared of dogs until I moved to Tampa and got a dog with Jody. I was afraid of dogs.
I ran into one on the paper. I had a paper route, and there was a loose Doberman that it's like it just menaced. Like, you know, if they're out of their yard, they're fucking assholes, and it menaced me. And I left the newspapers there, and I didn't deliver that day. Yeah, people were calling up and complaining, but I just bailed.
I don't blame you for that at all. There were dogs. There was a German Shepherd up the street from us that Max was its name, that we were always just deathly afraid of as kids. Like having to walk past that house, if Max was out in the front yard, it was like, you had to swing wide. You had to go across the street. You weren't getting anywhere near fucking Max. No way. They'll tear you apart.
I think it was a German Shepherd or some sort of German Shepherd breed that bit me when I was a little kid, and I don't remember how old I was, but I couldn't have been like between I don't know, maybe 7, 8 or so. And I was at the babysitter's house who had 4 daughters, and I'm running from this dog, and the dog comes up and bites me right in the fucking taint as I was running.
Oh my God.
And fucking nailed me to where, and then I had to.
Were you doing yoga? How did he get you?
I'm just running. I don't know. Maybe I appeared. I'm not sure.
That's a weird angle. Think of the physiology of a dog.
I had acquired Warrior too, and then all of a sudden, clamp.
It probably surprised the dog too. It just thought it was latching onto pants.
Oh shit! I got something.
You talking about running faster, man?
Yeah.
But
Oh my God.
it was. I remember it being the most embarrassing thing ever because I had to go in and the babysitter had to fucking look at my taint. Basically, there's no fucking.
Well, I mean,
comfortable
come
way.
on.
There's
the
no
problem.
That might have been a ploy.
Was this at the
true.
Kennedy compound by any chance? My taint. I believe my taint was bitten. Give me the babysitter.
It was in a pizza parlor basement.
I mentioned that she had 4 daughters earlier or something because I remember distinctly that the daughters were all concerned and going, is he okay? And I'm like, don't let them in here. I'm all my fucking
You had
feet up in
5
the
chicks
air.
looking at your fucking asshole.
That's the problem. There's no way to get a look at the taint without going over something very sensitive to get there. There's no access to that area without.
You can't look at one star in Starry Night.
Both
You're looking at the whole thing.
Both the north and south trails have their own set of problems. You know what I mean?
One of the most vulnerable I've ever been.
I remember
never again. Never forget.
Like a woman feels every time she goes to the gynecologist.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. Suck it up,
on
Buttercup.
I skied up on an Asian woman who just had did a yard
Wait, you what?
sale.
Hold on. You what?
I skied up and there was an Asian woman sprawled out on the
Skied up?
you know, skied down to her or whatever, and she was like, "Is my face bleeding?"
Did you mean to start this? Did you mean to start this with one time when I was skiing?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway,
but
but
she
but
skiing outside of a resort.
But she thought her face,
skiing.
right. This wasn't outside here, my house, but she thought her whole face was ripped off. But that's, I mean, I was thinking of the vulnerability of that. You know, it's like, you know, to ask somebody, it's like, okay, could you check out my taint and see if there's, you know, does my taint look like? Does it look okay? Does it look like it's been? No?
Chad, it's not the same, right? That's not the fucking same.
When I think of Chad's taint, I think of an Asian woman's face. I don't know. It's not racism.
I would just look for a mirror. If it's in your taint, you really, like, the mirror thing doesn't really even work. It's harder. I mean, ladies will tell you, yeah, you can see it. But I mean, for a man, it's one of those things. You'd go to the babysitter first.
Well, you'd want to have like one of those beautician mirrors. You'd want to squat on one mirror, and then you'd want to check out. I don't know. You got to do some fucking angles on it. But I would always, you know, it's your taint.
Well, to be
you
fair,
shouldn't share something called taint.
Andy, are you being a
7,
taintist
8,
right now?
9 years
It's
old.
called taint for a reason.
I didn't even know it was called my taint.
I
was
ain't
so
gonna
little.
look at that.
It ain't called the underside of your belly. You know, it's called taint, like the forbidden zone.
I definitely knew I didn't want I didn't want the family looking at it. That's all I knew. I knew that, you know.
It's like, in fact, that's the hardest way to find out you even have a taint.
Erickson will
like, until then, you didn't even realize that was just an area. Like the
day the music died, man. That's the day the music died.
It was just a basic area that you didn't ever think about, you know, and then all of a sudden you got a problem with it.
The comedy
it's like
equivalent,
a lineman getting a penalty.
The comedy equivalent of the taint is called the danger zone. Am I right, Erickson? Am I right? The taint, you know, it's a danger zone. You shouldn't be like, hey, do you want to see the danger zone?
The thing is, if you get, it is embarrassing too, Chad, because, and scary. It's scary because if something bites you on the taint, that thing that bit you there got all the way in. Like that's like the to the middle of the Death Star and hitting it with a fucking perfect bite because you have to feel pretty vulnerable after that. Like obviously you need to have a discussion with your Defense Department. You know, like something broke down there.
That's all nature.
What do you mean the comms were down? How come there's no signal? How did it get this close to me?
Got past 3 posts that were supposed to be.
Everyone's asleep? What the fuck?
This is how I learned that I don't run very fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when you started working out and pumping iron. Like I'm gonna have to get big because I'm slow.
That's like a cop shooting somebody in the head or something. It just went exactly for the most vulnerable kill spot, you know. So that's fucking science there. That dog was waiting for your taint to swing.
That dog was not aiming for fucking his taint.
I'll bet it was a little bit. It was going for the middle.
Neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was going for the middle, man. It was,
hey, if Shank were running at me, I would aim for the taint.
You were aiming for the balls and you settled for the taint.
It's like that moment you decide, well, I'm gonna die anyway. I might as well try this one thing.
Or
he just one shot. Really, the only shot if he was running at me to get the taint was, well, he ran past me, but I still shot off anyway.
I was a little late on my throw.
Turns out he was after somebody else, but by then I committed to shooting.
He was running at me like he was after me. I didn't know there was anyone in front of me.
Yeah, turns out he was trying to get the guy behind me that was coming at me. He was protecting me.
I heard, hey, stop.
I'll tell you guys something violent. Last night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I was dreaming. There's a guy in real life who ripped me off several years ago, and I kind of have it in the back of my head. If I ever see him, I'd fucking, do a bunch of shit to him. And I'm dreaming that I ran into this guy, and I fucking pretended in the dream. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And I went to give him a hug, and then I just fucking bear hug crushed him and just kept crushing him while he's trying to breathe and kicking. And then after that, I started thinking, oh no, what if I did it this way? And I just would replay it and and I killed him like 6 different ways. And then at some point I realized, I was like, I think the first one was a dream. And then I woke up and I've just been laying here thinking about all the ways I would kill this guy for the last fucking 45 minutes. That's a disturbing fucking brain.
Well, it's good to have options,
You need to get out there and go for a walk.
You gotta think. Athletes always think through the play days before the game.
True.
So.
Yeah, it's true. You play through every possible situation so that when it comes up, nothing surprises you. You look like a professional when
it feels like the movies have made it look too easy. Like I like those scenes where it's like death is like, it's like, oh, you don't just, it's not like Star Wars where you just swing a thing and the person just evaporates. It's like a big slog of it, Jodi Arias had to stab her guy about 17, 18 times and he was still pissed off going, you fucking cunt, I can't believe this shit.
Usually people get to say this about positive things, like about creating art or, music or whatever, writing. But I will say before every violent act that I've ever committed, I have seen it instantly ahead of time, like a movie. So I know like I watched it through my head instantly, and then I do it right afterwards. I've never been able to explain that, but that's how all of my violence really has happened. To where it's like, that's a good idea. Do that.
That's the thing, though, Chad, is I see that exact same thing, but I'm the other guy. I see myself getting my ass absolutely destroyed, and that's what I'm like. Let's get the fuck out of here right now. I can see where this is going, so
Head bounces. I get up, look for my keys, and I run to the car.
Let's face it, none of us are going to be welcomed or accepted for very long in a nursing home. Yeah, we won't have like, oh, I fought the Germans back in WW1. We'll just be like, give me some more Molly, you fucking cunt. I'm shitting my pants. I need Molly.
Wait, have you been to a nursing home, Andy?
I've been to them. Yeah, hell yeah. I've been a bunch of them.
No, I think that's how they'll be.
Yeah, Molly would help.
Absolutely.
That would, for the guests too. When you sign in, you should get a fucking tab of Molly, and then you have to wait. You have to. The most important thing is once you sign in, then they make you wait 30 minutes for the Molly to take effect, and then you walk into the most depressing place to be in the world, except in a coffin.
I'm going to get a laminate of drugs that I like. Just have a laminate, or wear it around my neck. These are drugs that I want.
In case you run into somebody who wants to give you drugs and is worried about whether they give you one you're not going to enjoy very much.
In case of breathing.
So they're able to just check the quick handy list he wears around his neck as a favor to you.
It's 9 o'clock. I need my heroin. Get down here. I need my heroin. It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Where's my glue? You
It would
goddamn
be
bitch,
smart,
where's
though.
my glue?
I think
I got a bag of glue coming.
I think it would be smart to be I think Molly's gonna, some sort of version of that is gonna be the next drug they're gonna fight to legalize, because it is helpful in a lot of situations and a lot
It
of
was
therapy.
legal in the 70s,
It
actually.
was crazy to think about weed being as legal and recreationally legal as it is now 25 years ago or 30 years ago.
Here's the thing,
So if you
like-
were a forward-thinking Molly dealer, you would start building up your area, you know, and acquiring all kinds of you know, businesses that do that. So, and then you would hire a lawyer through a shell company that would start an organization to start fighting for the legalization of Molly, so that when it became legal, you became the Anheuser-Busch of Molly.
Just
The
like
biggest
like
dealer
these
of
guys are.
MDMA is the United States government. They had it in the 70s, and it was used in therapy because my birth mom actually, that she said, she goes, that was therapy for people that were going through couples therapy in the 70s. That was one of the versions, was that they would issue MD. So
Fuck yeah, it does.
God, I fucked her again. I can't believe this shit. That shit cuts through a lot of fucking negative bullshit.
Now it doesn't
It
matter how many
works.
crackers I stack up.
Well, here's what I was thinking of is you get, what's that, whirly ball or whatever, where you're
Whirly
on
ball,
some, so you get those, and then you put old people in them, and you play like do 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 do, and play their old fucking music. Put them on
Chicken
Molly, and they
dance.
spin around so they don't break their hips trying to dance or nothing. And you just fucking spin them around. It's like you're gonna die pretty soon. You might as well have a fucking fun time while, you know. It's like put the pain out of your mind for a minute, and then fucking put them back in their COVID cells.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're not gonna respect them enough to actually treat them like wise elders who might have something to say about how things should go, because they're filled with wisdom, we might as well, if we're just gonna stuff them away by themselves so we don't have to see them anymore, we might as well let that place be a rave, because that's how they would want to go out. You know, like that. Why not?
Yeah, because
ball, that's it, huh?
Yeah, and then just fucking.
Wait, you think old people on Molly would be good at that?
No, you let their fucking grandkids control them or whatever. They're not gonna, you know.
That's
but just
remote
the idea,
control. You want to do remote control whirly ball?
Like
strap them
robot
down.
wars?
But I mean, my point is they can't dance around on Molly. They'll fall down. You know. Oh yeah. No, remember your hip hurts.
Andy, this is bumper cars with the thing called trackball. You can't put octogenarians in a bumper car. And by the way, the only way to steer the thing was to turn a fucking like the first cars that had no steering wheel. They just had a thing they would turn. That whirly ball. They said it's too easy. You can't put a steering wheel on there, and they came up with a way to make it harder.
Hey, you shouldn't encourage him to go to a fucking concert in a pandemic neither. So I think this is a better alternative for him.
It's so unsafe that even now they won't allow you to have this sort of thing for anybody, much less fucking old people on Molly.
Old people, hey, they won't even need to sign up for lawn darts. I'll just put them all out there in the front yard. I'll throw you lawn darts like you
With
used
a
to,
bucket
you know?
of darts. Start throwing them.
It's like a bracket system. Whoever survives whirly ball gets to move on to lawn darts.
Let's start. I mean, we got to start gaslighting these people.
Hey, okay. Remember when we were back at Coots, like back in April last year, right? And imagine at the end of the night when we're on the South Long Bar there, we're all fucking hammered, and then someone goes, "Hey, it's almost 3:30 in the morning. We're going to Whirly Ball."
Yeah.
And you're fucking hammered and gacked out. And that's what we were doing back when I played in Last Call on Friday or Saturday nights. One of the nights they'd go and they would open Whirly Ball at 4 a.m. and we'd be there till like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Fucking playing this game with like a ton of fucking liquor and just fucking drugged out. And we would be playing this. And I don't remember one time fucking playing this game, but I remember going to Whirly Ball a bunch and being very sore for the next 2 days.
So it cures dementia.
It cures going to an after party at some fucking wayward fucking location out in
if there's ever a future, then old people could go and take that hour at 5 a.m. Like, partiers are leaving it. It's like, hey, morning George, morning Sam, and then the old people go in and play whirly ball with the Molly, and they're fucking
like ball walking. They could do that. It would take over. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You can be fit and old, but you
You think the old people on Molly might enjoy like a ball pit, maybe? That seems safer.
They would drown in the ball pit.
I'm not against the whirly ball idea or the whole concept. I think maybe we could refine it.
They should definitely try a wading pool of them. Just walking. They could walk through a room of balls. How about that?
That's not good. Andy, anything that requires any physical activity is horrible for old people in a nursing home. You know
wait
that.
A minute. Hold on, I might have missed the point of this. Andy, is this another one of your population reduction plans?
Well,
Are we trying to get rid of the old people?
Yeah.
I would have a lot of one-way field trips if I ran a nursing home. It's like, hey, everybody, we're gonna go
end of the line field trip.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Gertrude. Turns out your check didn't clear this month. We're going out to see some.
We're going to whirly ball.
Yeah. We're going to the mall to feed a tiger.
Oh shit.
We're gonna go. Like when you hear about those buses going off the road, it's like, oh, maybe it was just a group thing. No. Let's get rid of all the fucking people whose family are giving us fucking grievances, and they can't pay. It's a lot of money to live in those homes. So I'm gonna fucking just count on my own ignorance to take me out of this world without having to rely on some fucking aftercare bullshit. I'm gonna go hard at the after party, so aftercare won't even be a possibility. I'm gonna go fucking all in. They'll be like, wait, you didn't take all that, did you? It's like, yeah. I did.
I'm with you on that, Andy.
Yeah.
I think by that time they would have some kind of palliative care that the family could agree that, oh, this is a painless way to go. The cost is exorbitant. I mean, it's one of those things. My parents both had end of life care. And at some point, they're begging for a way for this. And but you can't say it directly. But I mean, even like the Filipino nurse is going to go, today's the day, because they know, But we could have done this months earlier when she was saying, "Please, I just want this to end. Get the preacher."
Yeah. You could just give them. That's what I had to explain to my family when my uncle was on hospice. I was like, hospice means that the hospital can't overdose, our family member, but we can. They won't ever. That's basically what hospice means.
You loved your uncle. You guys were tight. Yeah,
super tight. But they gave him like the patch, whatever, fentanyl patch.
Oh, yeah. Fentanyl patch. Yeah.
And, those are
then
great.
Then they realized that he was too skinny, he was too emaciated, and it wouldn't absorb. He didn't have anything for it to absorb into, so it was no good.
It absorbs to the fat, right?
Yeah. It
has something to do with the fat, and he was just too emaciated. Yeah,
there was just nothing there. So
man, that's not a good sign.
Yes.
I'm waiting to hear how high Chad got later. You can
no longer absorb drugs.
No, here it is. Well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is he can't possibly overdose on fentanyl.
No way.
So the family definitely looked at me weird because they were waiting, they were waiting for him to get new drugs, and I was like, just take those fentanyl patches and freeze them, and then he can suck on them like a popsicle. And the fucking family's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm just telling you what the fuck you can do. You have options. It's up to us. There's not outside regulations in here.
You can make up your own shit. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
There's no fucking pain or what?
There's no president of death.
Is there just no end to the levels of cruelty Jim Jones inflicted on those people? He could have done popsicles for the kids. all you kids get a popsicle. Go over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my one of my biggest regrets is on my mom's deathbed, like a couple days before she died, we had to leave town, and I never like gave her a cigarette. She smoked for 40 some years, and it's like at this point, she used to tell me all the time when she quit smoking that she thinks about it every day, every day, and I didn't think to have that. Like she wanted custard, frozen custard. I went and found the one frozen custard place in Southern California, but I didn't think to like just light one up and go, "Hey, mom, let me share a smoke with you."
Here,
and then when her
take
younger
that patch off your throat, mom. I'm loading you up.
spit out that fentanyl.
You gotta hold it. You gotta squeeze it around the cigarette, the filter.
Years later, when
Put gum around it like I did a bong when I was in high school. That'll seal it up.
Years later, when 5 years later, when her younger sister died, we were at the they told us she's never leaving this hospital. Like she was in a respite care kind of thing, and this is end of life, right? And she knew it too, and she was awesome. She goes, "Nothing matters." That's what she told me. The last time I ever saw her, she goes, "Nothing matters. None of this shit matters." And I'm like, oh my God. But before that, two visits before that, she says, "I want a cigarette." And I look at Tracy. Tracy doesn't smoke, hasn't smoked in years. And then I looked at my cousin, her son, and I'm like, "So what do we do?" And he goes, "She's smoking." And so he wheeled her out, and Tracy and my aunt, who I fucking adored, sat on the fucking street smoking a cigarette. And guess what? No fucking nurses ran out and said, "You can't do." Guess what? You're the president of death at that point. You could do whatever the fuck you want. And Tracy just met her. And now they're having the last smoke of her life. And I still remember that. It's like she got to do what she wanted to do, and then she died like 3 days later. But it is one of those things. Nothing matters, and I feel like a smoke.
It's got to be incredibly freeing.
Maybe eventually they'll have more of a okay, are you sure you want to do that fat of a rail, Mr. Andrus? Well, yeah, because I figure the amount of morphine I got coming, it's not going to keep me awake.
Yeah.
And
I haven't taken a shit in 2 days. I need a fat rail to
It's a 1-2 punch.
Do you want us to remove that pocket pussy? No, leave it on there.
Yeah, keep it going. Yeah.
As long as my legs keep shaking, keep that pocket pussy on.
As long as my legs.
The Richard Nixon fuck my face doll.
I'm hoping to call my own way out sooner or later.
We just got one, by the way.
Deal with that
Oh,
shit.
man.
Someone just sent us this. I don't know if she's any good, but
Oh, she's good.
They're all as good as your effort in cleaning up after. Some of them I've kind of you kind of fall out of interest with them after a time or two. Like, man, they're not responsible for their own douching. That's the point of it. That's why those are more of a novelty item than an actual love interest.
Dear Jock Johnson's Industries, I find it very fucking unflattering that 17 times into this device, it stinks like a fucking
you think it's
a pig house hooker.
You can't cut the mold off of this cheese. I'm sorry. I thought this was going to last me for at least a week. I've had relationships that lasted as long as this. I'd never be able to make love to
a pocket pussy's like a puppy. You think you're going to take care of it and feed it and 24 hours a day, you're going to take it outside. And then a couple weeks in, you're like, I don't give a fuck about that dog.
It's got shit stuck on it. You won't wipe it off. We used to get them.
You're trying to rehome it on Craigslist.
Yeah.
We got a bunch
that
of
kind
stuff.
of shit.
When I worked with Douglas on the Man Show, we got a box of sex toys and pornos and stuff delivered, and we'd get those pocket Doug's mother, always grabbed anything that vibrated before anybody else even had a chance to go through the box. And, I'm sure Doug's sold all those or got rid of them, but we'd get those pocket pussies, and then we got the glitter cannons. So that's what we did with those. It was so fun to see glitter just blow out of a pussy. It never got tiresome, but we did get a letter. That was one of the things mentioned is our explosives in the office, or, we like to have fun. Takes it, we had a lot of high stressful job coming up with skits for the Man Show, and like that cop who needed a McMuffin sandwich, we did things to kind of relax a little bit, between things, like get thanked by the public for doing absolutely nothing and get free
blow
sandwiches.
Off steam, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Andy, what kind of what was your work day like at the Man Show? Like you'd wake up in a hammock in your office.
Yeah, it was like waking up at Paul Bunyan.
The glitter cannons out of the pussies. That was from 1 to 1:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well, I know one.
You had it right.
I've heard
Taco Tuesday.
Glitter Canyons was right.
Canyon, is that what I said?
Glitter Canyon. That's better.
Glitter Canyons is the end. Yeah.
That's also my favorite Eagles album.
Me and Doug would stay. We were the last
Underrated.
We were the last ones to leave and the first ones up at work in the morning is how it went. But in the meantime, we just fake like we actually left. And we go to a bar and then we'd come back onto the lot and sleep in the office because the domestic situation out in Venice wasn't real great at that time for Douglas. So we'd stay and so we'd just wake up there. And so it's like, like we were dedicated. And then
I think it showed.
He said like they were dedicated.
Yeah.
So about 11.
Was that the one
all the time, like someone who was dedicated might do.
Well,
or someone who lived there and had no apartment.
Yeah.
So morning cocktails to get ready for the office, and then people would show up to work and they'd go, "Wow, you guys got here early today," and go, "Yep," and me and Doug would be like all ready to go, and but we were day drinking, and then Doug would go sit and he'd look for cars on eBay a lot of times or whatever, and then I would walk down the flight of stairs and then up a flight of stairs to the writer room where I get there about 11:30 to 11:45, and then 12 o'clock to 12:30 the menus would drop, so we'd start maybe talking about
like
something
at the cafeteria.
Like the lunch menus would drop, and then that took another hour, and then we'd go from about 1 to 1:15 to 1:45. We'd talk about some shit, and then lunch would arrive. Then about 4 o'clock we resumed work again. And this was not on my call. This was fucking the head writer, Tom Giannis. He ran a.
Is that the guy who wore the flame Aloha shirt?
He was always like he was like a kind of a sweaty fat guy, and
that's him. That's that. I should have said that. I'm sorry. I was going with what he was wearing one time, and you went with something that he lives with.
I don't know what he did. He always goes, he was fighting battles for us, but he'd always lose them, But I know this is I submitted a writing pack, Doug, when when Eddie Bravo left the Man Show and left him with a big hole to fill as far as comedy writing. And Eddie Bravo left, and then Doug called and said I might have a chance of getting a job there. I'd submit a writing pack, which I don't know how to do any of that shit. But I ended up, Doug goes, just get drunk and smoke weed and write some shit down. And I did that. And I
check.
Yeah, so I submitted this writing pack, and I ended up getting a job not based on anything but nepotism. But so they didn't.
Still had some of the best ideas that.
But so a couple of times at the writing table, Giannis would present stuff that was in my writing pack that I sent. So he just he sat in and then
your pack.
So when you do that, you go, here's my writing pack. If somebody else has similar ideas, it's a possibility. So basically, you sign off on all this shit. Yeah. And he would mine that for ideas, and then he would just sharpen them around the writing table, is what I figured, because 2 of them came back around. I was like, that's actually my idea one of them was Joe Rogan he could communicate with ex-girlfriends of dudes. It was like a piece to embarrass a dude in the audience. Like, you fucked over your buddy. Oh, your girlfriend says, it's like a psychic of, it was stupid as shit, but it was like, and then that was my idea, and it come back around, and Gianna, so it was like a lot of that.
That's pretty specific too.
So, but anyway, like at 3 or 4, so then at some point, Fitzsimmons would take part of Doug's act, and then he would go, okay, and he got tired of the writing room. Posehn would show up late, and then Fitzsimmons would take off, and he would go take Doug's act and divide it into 2 speaking parts for Doug and Joe, which became a monologue. That became a monologue, and I was like, fuck, I want that job where I just take Doug's act and divide it into two parts. But that was Fitzsimmons' little niche. Posehn was just there for levity. I don't think he really gave a fuck.
I don't think he credits Man Show as something he ever did. I think he has a lawyer that will sue you if he says, if you say that he worked there.
Yeah, I know one time he goes, from the after hours, when I brought up something, he goes, I don't give a fuck about the Man Show. It's like, okay, all right, touchy subject. Let's see, who else did we have? Sebastiano I liked. He was a Saturday Night Live writer. I think he wrote Beer, Frank Sebastiano. He wrote that movie that Artie Lang was in, Soft Beer League, or directed it. He was my favorite. He was just a TV
Beer
guy.
League?
Yeah, something like that. It was a softball movie with Artie Lang. I mean, how many Artie Lang movies are there?
Well, yeah, like
especially with Artie Lang as the lead.
People or something.
Yeah, this was a movie that was built around Artie Lang and Sebastiano, but we always would go back around and jump each other at the writing table. Like, he gave me shit about, because I would once things got settled and they were ready to write, that's when I would just need to leave. It's like, I've already been here through lunch, and I fucking,
the menus have dropped. What am I doing here?
You mean you've been there since lunch?
Yeah. So it's like fucking kind of a dysfunctional, like that. But Bonnie McFarlane was there some of the times for writing, but it was like, we had writing talent, but nobody really put any fucking love into it. It was stupid. And so there would be like, and then when like a lot of the ideas I had, they went with them or wanted to go with them. And then they were like, the lawyers would go, we can't do that. That's going to get somebody hurt or whatever.
Someone wised up.
Just stupid shit. Like, so they would do whatever version. Like, one time I pitched the idea of a glory hole confessional and go, no, and then it's like man law, and you go, you fucking ruined your friend's thing by cheating on his chick or whatever. And then, but you go, the guy doesn't know it. He thinks he's just talking, and then you present it through a glory hole. And then you spray, just to humiliate the idiots that showed up to watch that garbage. And then it went around the table. Yeah, and then it went around the table, and then it was my idea.
Is this the guy, Andy? Is this the guy?
That's Frank. Yeah, that's Frank. And okay. And then God, I'm forgetting a few, but and then there was the mean guy. There was the one guy who was always angry about shit and had a lot of integrity with the show. He wanted to be the head writer. Ray was this guy's name, and Ray, we got into an argument one time because it was a stupid. The bit was, it was a replacement bit. And they go, okay, we're going to do a Juggy Science Fair. So we got to pitch all these ideas, Juggy Science Fair. And a bunch of mine were accepted. Like, one was a cover for their drink so they can't get roofied. One was a self-wetting T-shirt. I had like 5 hits on that thing. And one of them was they would wheel out a urinal, and it would be upside down, and it would be for men to pee in when they have erections. And that was funny. And then Ray goes, no, you need to add a tube to it. I go, why? No, the joke is it's just an upside down urinal and the pee just drips out. And we got into a philosophical debate about it. And I went down and took a picture of a urinal and put it on my phone and turned it upside down and go, see, it's funny, you fucking dick. But he took that shit real seriously. But Frank was a lot of fun. And but it was like, it was real dysfunctional. So we really only spent about 45 minutes per day actually pitching shit, by the time it was in the. And then everybody'd take off. And then, like I said, Fitzsimmons went and wrote the monologue, and we had 2 or 3 stupid pieces and an underproduced studio piece. That's why they liked me when at the beginning I had a couple of studio piece ideas. And
what's a studio piece mean? What does that mean?
When they can get the idiots in the audience. It's a live show performance, so they get people from the audience, and it's something they show. A lot of times it's just roll out, so it's stuff that's taped, and the people have to sit there and they
the Chappelle show where he would like pitch it to it. He would do something. He'd talk about it, and then he'd pitch to something like Charlie Murphy meeting Prince.
Right, and here's one I pitched when we did the Tanya Harding fight, because they didn't hire me back, but here was another thing they took, but it was
this was your idea, right?
But this was a studio piece. I don't think this was my idea, but it was we did a humanitarian hot tub for humanitarian. It was like just the juggies would go around and get people to sit in a hot tub with them, was the premise, and they overdid it to death. But it was a studio piece that we were going to use when we did the Tanya Harding fight, just something to film to show the people who went there for that one taping. So we had the Tanya Harding fight, and I got because they were worried about they had the hot tub set up, and they were going to bring somebody from the audience to get in the hot tub with the juggies, and there was much debate about what if somebody slipped and fell and got hurt or whatever. And then I was like, I didn't get paid. They took my whole idea and ran with it, and I didn't get paid. So I go, I'll do it. Figure out a consolation prize. I'll get in the hot tub with the juggies, and then they got to pay me. And they didn't pay me. They were like, but it's like, I'm not, it's like, it's it's an honor for somebody from the audience to get in the hot tub with the juggies. For me, it's Tuesday. I don't really give a shit.
That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be, though, anyway. Because, like, if you think of what I think would be the funny, like, if Conan was doing it, when they went to the audience to pick an audience winner, it would be one of those, like, two guys who are the main Conan writers, who's like just sitting in the
Chris
seat
Elliott
randomly selected, and then the bit actually goes on, and you can write more and put more comedy in it, rather than just picking a schmo from Kansas and having him go.
Right. Well, also, he could be gropey, or as a man. I assume the man show audience skews GOP right now.
Can you imagine how unfun a fucking set for anything is now, as far as anything like Andy's talking about?
And you can't even.
No, there's probably someone with a clipboard marking down all of the fucking infractions during the day, and this isn't continuity. This is on the other side of the camera of like violations. You know what I mean?
I mean,
absolutely.
Come on. It was like the Mad Men. It was like, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems so fucking like, locker room talk kind of bullshit. But I don't think it was like degrading, but it's just like, the ass fuckings reference, the writing table was raw as shit. And then one time they came over, there was somebody from production had to come over and tell us that we were pitching too many gay ideas. And they told us ahead of time that they were coming over. So like
that seemed pretty homophobic of them.
Exactly. And some of us were practicing homosexuals.
Yeah, I've seen you do it. You need the practice.
Right.
Sounds like the set of Tosh.0 before its time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it definitely was. So,
it was the template.
Yeah, that guy came over, and then so he stood there, and we didn't let him get a word in until we went around the writing table several times. Like, what about this? What about this? Naked dudes playing lawn darts, and you bend over and your ass is all greased up. And it's like one idea was worse than the other as he went around, and then that guy finally had it. I'm here from Stone Stanley, and I asked to talk to you guys about, we don't need a lot of homosexual content. Kathy, that girl was always working me, Vanette, the two pigs.
Sorry.
I think it's better take it down. I think there's bad things gonna happen.
But those two
can come from this.
Talk
over Andy right now. Talk over Andy.
Pointing fingers and saying names. Like, no.
Without
knowing anything else.
But that's their names. They're juggies. They're on the fucking.
It feels like if we're heading into a bad area for everybody involved.
You're missing. Where's the redhead? You're missing the redhead. Where's the wrestler?
I think you're missing the redhead.
No, the redhead was did some WWE shit, but No, those two were just previous juggies. So we didn't trust them because they were with Stone Stanley. They were production girls.
Oh,
and
they
then
were
they were-
plants.
yeah.
were
So
Kimmel and-
They
were
They
all the
Kimmel
could
and
other
Perot.
spell.
yeah, no, they were They were like the Frank Burns of the MASH unit. You know, they were the ones who probably told on
They were
shit.
terrible at surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it was like the whore that
They
Seinfeld
banged Houlihan?
sent over to the other whorehouse in Deadwood.
One of my favorite pictures. I got a picture of all not those two, but all the hot juggies at the time.
Oh, come on.
I'm
There's five
kidding.
there.
They were
Yeah,
hired
yeah.
to be hot. But anyway, it was so with Tanya Harding, like before the fight. They go, Tanya was just all the girls are all made up, and then Tanya's standing there. The fucking, it's just
Dumpy.
yeah. She definitely.
It's pretty sad when Tanya shows that picture and everyone's like, "Oh, wow, you got beat up in that fight pretty good," and she's like, "It was before the fight."
I love this picture of me and
That's
the
pretty
little
good.
lady.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Look at that on demand right there. What the fuck
There he
kind
is.
of an operation is Andy running there?
Yeah. Well, I have that
Just
up on
some
my
show prep, motherfucker.
God damn, I'm impressed.
me, Tanya. Well, that was the whole reason that Stanhope fought her is because I asked her in Harvey's Comedy Club after she was pissed off at me, could I get a picture? And she said no. And then I was like, all right, bitch. And then years later,
I'm gonna get
when I
you a
got-
job.
whenever
I
I got
will
a position,
humiliate you in a way that you will never expect.
yeah, I'm
Now you'll
gonna
know
pay,
my name, motherfucker. I'm gonna
Yeah.
humiliate you during the man show.
I'm gonna pay you back by getting you a job, getting $3,000, and fighting a guy in a fake fight, so I can get my stupid picture 10 years later or 5 years. Yeah, but I was pissed off about
Andy,
that.
Andy, hold on a second. I don't think that was a fake fight. There was talk of pulling punches or really punching, and there was a time when Tanya wasn't coming out of the dressing room.
Yeah.
That Renee had to go back and like talk her,
Well-
like massage the situation. And I also know that Doug
You know the
didn't
rumor?
want to try to take a punch. You know what I mean? I mean, that like if Doug could punch you as hard as he could, I don't think Tanya would be like
Well, that
no way.
that
I
was
think
the
she
thing
could
is-
take Doug's hardest punch.
She had a breathing
right.
thing, so she had asthma. And look, I mean, my daughter's an ice skater, and she's in great shape, and she can run her program. But once you run 8 seconds over that program, her legs are wobbly, and she can't land a fucking jump. So Doug had the
And that's
advantage
why
there.
you'll never make it, honey.
Here's-
You've
well-
got to work harder every time you're out there on the ice.
You got
I
weak
feel-
gloves. Weak
I ran.
gloves.
That's the best part of that is after the fake fight, it was a phony thing, and it never really happened. And here's the thing that pissed me off is the producers they did all these pictures afterwards, and everybody on the show was in the ring. They didn't let me in there. It's like I wasn't included.
I know.
And then
you were the problem.
and then they had the 3-round rings, the 1, 2, 3. And then I took one, and they go, no, those are for the producers. And I said, yeah, well, tell them A-Train has it. And so I got the 3rd round one signed by
They
Tanya.
don't know what that means.
I got
A-Train.
it. That was my moniker on
I
the
know
show.
it was.
But
know
I got it signed by Doug.
Probably why you didn't get
Doug,
any respect.
Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
and Tanya Harding.
A-Train. You can't be A-Train in the writer's room. You have to
But
be Andy, or even better, Andrew. In
I
fact,
ran-
anytime anyone calls you Andy, you correct them and you say Andrew.
I'm not that
A-Train.
Andy guy.
No,
And then
A-Train is
A-Train.
not somebody that gets hired back.
No, that's my.
Yeah,
That's like the
A-Train.
guy in
Exactly.
Jackass named
A-Train
Bam.
leaves with some of the shit.
That's
Like,
not-
So,
no.
so can you imagine Doug taking this punch right here from this
that's
gal?
No way.
Tanya's taking that
That's
punch.
Tanya.
Getting
Can you?
punched.
Doug's not taking. So when you go like, "Hey, Doug, Tanya said she's going to go full force. Are you down with that?" Doug's
No,
not
but
saying,
that's
"Yeah,
that's
I'll
not
take
proving
it."
anything. That's her
That's
getting punched in her face.
That's
What
Tanya
that-
getting. She's getting
that-
punched or
I
throwing the
know.
punch?
No,
Who's-
Tanya.
wait, wait.
Tanya's getting the punched, but
Oh.
Doug would not say yes to someone punching like that. I mean, I'm just saying that she's been in fights like this.
Right, but,
Right.
but
Yeah.
she can't
No,
punch like that.
Yeah,
No.
she was
You
afraid
can
to
get
Well,
punched like
look.
that.
She
Well,
the
I
guy the
understand
guy
your point.
She took him.
Stanhope's we've talked about this before, and he said the same, right? He did not want to fight any more than fucking she wanted.
It's also,
to fight.
it's also, that's another, it should have been written anyway. It should have been faked. It should have been written. Something wrestling.
It stopped production, Erickson. It stopped everything cold on who's going to hit who when and who's going to win. It's like, this wasn't discussed in the fucking meeting.
Yeah,
here's the thing.
By somebody even bigger that made it a whole nother thing, like
a
wrestling thing.
The whole problem is they took my idea that I pitched them to their faces several times at the Super Bowl party while I was drunk after Gary Busey's lecture. I pitched it to them, and then it kept getting pitched, and Doug wanted to do it, and we pitched it throughout the show.
Idea.
So they took my idea and they didn't use any of the components of what would develop the whole story and make it funny, and they just went with the live.
What was your idea, Andy?
I was going to have
should they have done?
I was going to have her training I was going to have a whole training thing with her running behind a pickup truck, throwing hubcaps into the side of a trailer with some guy yelling.
That's great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, double thing. I wanted to build the whole show around it, and the fight would have been funny.
And then you have Doug. You have cut to Doug's training, which is where he's like taking a phone call. He's going, I'm training. In fact, I'm training right now. And he hangs up and he crosses his feet and lights up a cigarette. Right, and pops a beer, and then you build it up on both sides until they come out. Right.
Yeah, Rogan talking to him about savagely beating somebody,
giving him a back rub,
a cigarette, going, like Eye of the Tiger starts playing, and
you could have Stanhope on his stomach, and Rogan's giving him a massage and like doing the karate chops on his back, giving him a fucking pep talk.
If they would have given me a chance to run that episode, I had an idea on how the whole fucking thing would have played out. Instead, they took the little part, didn't hire me back, treated me like I was intruding on the whole thing, and then I ran. So this was just a replacement taping because they felt like maybe Rogan was too high during all the previous tapings, so they reshot. That's what the word was. I don't know. He was a little glassy-eyed.
That's the best. That's honestly the best part of the story right there.
Kettle calling the pot black.
Listen, I smoked weed with him a lot, and I don't think he was too high. I think he was just as high as I was.
Right.
But anyway, they said that he was too high, and they reshot a bunch of monologues, and that's why they had the Tanya Harding fight, and then they had the hot tub. They did some filler stuff so they could get a studio audience in there. And I ran a sports book on it because I realized, the only way I'm going to get anything out of this is people were kind of convinced, she came in and she had her manager who looked like a fucking professional boxer kind of guy. It seems like he was kind of putting her up to the boxing more than she really wanted to.
Well, she was boxing. She was doing this. There was a time when celebrity boxing was a thing. And it's like porn or celebrity boxing.
I think she got her start.
You're going to go to porn.
I think she got her start in fighting by punching the girl who, I did a joke about this. It was Paula Jones who turned her head away when Bill Clinton pulled his dick out. And I said, that's not a good fighting strategy because she did that when she was fighting Tanya Harding. And Tanya Harding is a white trash survivor. So she knows exactly when to punch is when the head's turned. So she punched Paula Jones in the head. And then they took that. And they go, oh, you want to fight some other people? And she wanted some celebrity money.
It would have been funny if for the fight you do the big build up, and then when the fight actually happens, you see like Tanya in the dressing room getting pumped up, getting her fists wrapped in tape and everything, and the thing. But then when it comes out, she's like covered. She's got her robe on. You can't really see. And then when the robe comes off, it's Danny Bonaducci, and it's fucking Bonaducci as Tanya Harding, ready to duke it out with Doug, and then they could have like a real like whatever sort of thing,
Well, believe me,
Bonaducci would have would have been right up his alley.
He did.
That would have been the right timing.
Hey, believe me, if I had
that kind of shit, like it should be planned that much. I know Doug, and obviously Doug is doing pretty well for himself. So how could you ever question any of it? But like he likes that unknown fucking angle. What could happen?
Yeah, what I wanted
so
to
that's
do,
why you hired him. So that's what
I'll tell you right now, because from the outside looking in, I was at that taping. That's not the way the Man Show was run. There was no cleverness. There was no let's do this. It
No,
was
it
all
just a
fucked up.
live studio piece, and then so it was like I would have had Doug, ideally I would have let Doug take a beating the whole time, like 3 rounds of just kind of playing pussy and running from it a little bit, but taking a beating and let it be like a Metal Lark Lemon baiting kind of stuff, Sugar Ray Leonard kind of stuff, and then after he's taken enough beating by a woman that he could, and then get the crowd going, Stan Hope, and then he just punches her once in the face and drops her.
I remember that discussion.
That's
Andy,
what
I remember that.
Terrible idea.
There was that discussion that should happen, and it got shot down immediately. And then Tanya didn't want to be touched at all.
No.
I mean, that was basically why she holed up in the green room.
Here's have a skit where you.
And here's
hit
another
a girl. That was the other thing. You can't hit a girl, Doug.
That was Andy's whole intention.
Well, and here's another
bit was to watch her get punched in the face because she was rude to him years before.
Think about how long ago this was too, and what I wanted to put like a fucking crew together. If I was in charge of the episode, I would have got. I would have definitely pushed for it as like, okay, your ring crew is going to look exactly like the guys who beat up or hitting Nancy Carrot, the mastermind, Shane Stan. Galooly, yeah, fucking the crew, and then Doug maybe.
We're getting the band back together.
Doug's training, and he's headed for the exits, and then he gets hit in the knee.
That's funny.
Spills his drink. His drink's down like, my drink.
Why?
My
his
drink.
cigarette drops out of his mouth and rolls away, and he's like, "Oh!"
Slow motion. Pow.
Yeah. That's very funny.
I had ideas.
Where were these Where were these, Andy? These are gems.
No, they shoot that shit down. They fucking don't want to hear that.
They took the idea for a live studio piece and reshot monologues, and they had no interest in building a show around. The only thing that might have given that show enough juice to have another run, but it died mercifully when it did. At the time, I was like, I want one more round because I like the paychecks. I like being paid a lot for very little effort.
Absolutely.
One time I got
American dream, sir.
Yeah. One time I got $600 for saying piss soda. Or I said, tastes like piss. And that's $600. I could do that all day.
Speaking of money for very little effort, thanks everybody that subscribes to the Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so I was just going to say that so far, I mean, none of you have any of that money. I have it all. So I was about to say that Andy was in the midst of having the opposite situation right now, where he puts in like most of the work, and so far hasn't been paid a red fucking cent. So things turn around. Yeah,
it's an investment. It's an investment.
I don't do any
for this.
I put up some
decorations. Todd does most of the work. We drink on fucking camera.
Absolutely.
Andy would have this go 24/7 like a fucking stream, just to fucking
I put all this effort into this, and it usually not even on camera.
I disagree. Shaylee. I think Andy. There's a lot. He's the guy. He brings something every fucking episode that we build on, and that's a lot. That's a lot.
There's effort into this whole thing, like Andy just showed us. There's effort going on all around that you don't even notice, and it may or may not come up.
Sometimes all Todd has to do is...
The picture of Andy with Tanya Harding may or may not have come up, but it was right there.
Yeah, that's right. But also sometimes Todd.
I brought that up, by the way. Andy didn't fucking storyboard the whole fucking thing.
Plus there's the
share in the workload.
Me and Greg get together on Mondays. We talk about we do the Sunday wrap up. We talk about
call them Bagel Mondays.
Then why didn't you guys work out the John Lingenfelder situation? Because you fucking text message.
Oh, John Lindgren.
You know Lindgren? I mean, if you were at the meeting, you know it's Lindgren and not Lingen.
I wasn't. I am not invited to Bagel Mondays. I didn't know anything about Bagel Mondays.
Well, we don't even know where you are 90% of the time.
The podcast went out 24 hours late, and they paid for that shit.
I'm not sure they have.
No. Well, all I know is I sit by my phone on Wednesdays and Sunday. Or when do they air? fucking.
You haven't got
Tuesdays?
any of you haven't
Yeah.
got
And
any.
Saturday
Yeah,
or
Andy's
whatever.
tuned in. Andy's
and I
tuned
wait
into the
by
fucking
my phone.
intricacies of this podcast.
And I'm like, oh man, I'm almost out of everything, and I'm gonna have to panhandle again, or I guess
No, I
I'm
got
gonna have
you,
to
Andy. I got
put a
you, Andy.
rubber in my
I
mouth
got you, Andy.
and go down to the truck stop again, and then I'm waiting for and then it doesn't light up, and then I see Erickson's off at some rainbow gathering.
I'm out there at the suck fest, just sucking,
spraying a super soaker of semen into the willing
having
mouths.
the time of my fucking life.
Spraying a super soaker of semen into the willing mouths.
Hey, it's he managed to bring Burning Man to his own area, and that's something.
Why is the Man Show not still on the air? Andy's doing this for free almost.
That's what
Jesus.
Wait, there was a quick mention after they wanted to put me and I don't even know if it was mentioned. I don't know, but there was like Man Show Radio, and then me and Doug would be teamed up on Man Show Radio, but that would have died on a
Andy,
that's what became podcast. So
for the Man Show, for those
the
guys.
Man Show second iteration has completely been scrubbed from existence.
I know,
you can't buy the second iteration of the Man Show on Comedy Central does not offer that.
The other Duke boys.
I didn't even
remember the other Duke boys.
Until Stanhope talked to me about it at one point, where we were talking. It came up in conversation. I was like, I didn't even know you did the Man Show.
Yeah,
I remembered it with Jimmy Kimmel and the Adam Carolla, but I never saw the second one at all. It was
still the greatest. The greatest part of it for me was hearing the theme song, and then I'm out there acting like I'm involved in watching the taping, which I wasn't. The writers would all be here in the audience in a like a fucking rodeo bleachers, and there was a little pit, and the writers, Tom was there, this headset on, and Frank was probably the one running the show, but everybody had their job, and I acted like I cared. And then when the Man Show theme started, I would sneak around behind the bleachers, and underneath that there was a closet where Stephen McCumbee, the props guy, had the booze.
Wait, didn't he come out to the desert party? McCumbee?
Yeah, he was at the first desert party. Rode his motorcycle out, and so he was the go-to guy for anything. He was our radar.
That's where you took
Riley.
me. We went down to a little cubby hole underneath the bleachers where everyone is like has their thing of beer, and then Andy goes to where we can get Jaeger shots.
Yeah,
from
Jaeger
McCumbee.
shots. So it's juggy girls and trampolines, and then the juggies that weren't in the shot. This was my favorite. Is one time there was two juggies down there, me and McCumbee, a bunch of shots. Me and him were doing shots, and then the couple juggies popped in, and they wanted to do a shot, and then the midget was there for stuff, and he was needed later. And the Man Show midget, he was passed from one Man Show to the second. Arterio, I think his name was
Arturo.
Yeah, we had him for a blue. So he was there for a Blue Balls thing. So he was dressed as Blue Balls. Little midget in blue, like a Smurf, and then two juggies and me and McCumbee doing shots. It was like, and with the Man Show theme, and then the audience. It was like, fuck yeah, this is the show. This is way cooler.
Arturo Gill is his name.
Yeah, like straight out of a fucking freak novel. And I really like.
He's a man.
He was a man, and he is a man, and I liked him. We had a lot of, I had a lot of fun hanging out with that dude, and I got down to his level because I was a problem drinker at the time.
Andy, I have to say this: Andy is a man. Andy's a man of the people during production. I mean, it's like I know there's probably people.
That's
I'm just saying,
ain't it?
No, that's Arturo. Andy might seem Andy is who Andy is. We know that. But from an admin standpoint, he's a loose cannon. He's a guy that people that have to keep track of things don't like people like Andy. That's why we love Andy.
I kind of felt like I was the John Belushi on the show, and I wasn't on camera neither.
Calm down.
But it just felt like
Yeah.
no. I mean, like that's how I got. They like I was
take a
loose
sip,
cannon.
Andy. Relax a little bit. You were not the John Belushi of the Man Show. There was no John Belushi on the fucking Man Show. You understand? Arturo had more camera time than you, and he was not the John Belushi of the Man Show. And during one episode, he played John Belushi.
Arturo did. That would be great.
See?
Pitch that.
Yeah, you were drinking Jägermeister with McCumbee under the stands. You didn't even realize there was a John Belushi skit with a fucking midget.
I didn't watch the show that much. It's like, you know, what's the point? I was there, you know.
I love you, Andy. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was garbage TV. Watch that shit. I remember one time walking through the bleachers and I was looking to give somebody some porn, and I was like, and I should have just like, you know, but we would
wait, back up. Where did you hold on. I remember Yoshi. There was a guy named
box.
Yoshi.
Yeah, Yoshi would bring a lot of DVDs.
He was a Seattle comic that was very new to comedy in Seattle, and Yoshi went down to work in LA, and he was hired. I don't know like how long it took, but he ended up in the porno scene where he was working somewhere in porno distribution. But whenever he would show up anywhere, he would always have boatloads of DVDs, because to a porn distributor,
Evil Angel, I think.
It's nothing. That like you pass that stuff out just to get that fucking thing going. And so whenever he showed up at a comedy club, I remember when he came back up to Seattle, he would come out and he would just be handing fucking DVDs of all these porns. And I had no idea what he did for the porn industry other than hand something hand to hand, one at a time. He would do it, but I think he was probably a grip or someone.
All of that makes perfect sense. All of that makes perfect sense. Andy said he was looking for somebody to give some porn to.
So what I would do is when we would get this, so it was like I controlled the audience, or Brody Stevens was there as the warm up act.
So you were doing warm up work.
Well, but I knew how to.
Brody was.
I knew how to get the. You know, like on Deadwood, they get the hoople heads riled up. But I knew how to get the hoople heads riled up. You know, it was a captive audience that were there until we let them go. And there was hoople heads. They were like, fucking where did this bus come from? These hoople heads. And you'd sometimes have to talk to them and pick out rubes from the crowd for studio pieces. So, but I just, you know, I loved watching Brody Stevens talk to him, because he would go out there and he would just start getting into his fucking, it's so fucking great. And then, but I just like, you know, so Yoshi would bring a box of porn and vibrating shit. Doug's mother take all the eggs and leave us with fist and stuff. And then there were these pornos, and then it's like more porno. I don't even watch that much of it. To me, you know, you give me a rainbow and a morning dew, and I'm good. But we got this box of porno, so we give it to the
pair of shoes.
Rainbow in the morning dew, and a nice Paul Bunyan statue to talk me through it.
Yeah, so we'd get these pornos, and I would open them, and then I would like take tranny porn and I'd put it in the straight porn, or you know, I had fun with it, and then so I'd find uptight looking dudes to go, you want some pussy, some hot pussy. You know, I go, you know, because there were a fucking lot of, you know, the crowd wasn't the best people. It's like you could go to a Midwest bowling alley and have these same people.
You're giving gag gifts to the aggro guys who are in the crowd, so that when they think they're getting the trip,
you like big titties, dude. This is all titties, and it was all cock or whatever. And so that was the thing. And then so one time we had we hired Vanity, this transvestite. At the time, I think it was the term.
Was she Doug's favorite?
No, that was no. She was the one I was famous. All right. Joe and Doug had a different one. one.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Vanity came on, and the whole thing was this Who Wants to Be a Porn Star, and it was a studio piece where a guy from the audience got tricked into this being in the porn. But anyway, the gag was she would reveal her breasts. So the crowd, the hoople heads cheer wildly in the bleachers, of course. And then she drops out her well-established large clitoris that looks a lot like a penis. In fact, some would argue it was
to a discriminating eye. Yeah.
But these people that shows you how fickle popularity is, because she was the most popular person in the room, and then she was the most hated person in the room.
She was trending for a while for a good reason, and then she was trending for a bad reason.
I knew what was going to happen ahead of time, so I was like getting the hoople heads all riled up, like we want to see what's yeah, we do.
Hey, Andy, hold on for a second. This bears mentioning. When you go to a taping at a studio, you are basically held hostage. You are allowed in. You're bussed in. You're not allowed to. You don't drive in and park and then go find your spot. You are bussed in, or you're brought in, and then you have to stay there until they are done. Which at the Man Show, you're only given, I think, was it 2 beers or 1 beer?
I think they got 2 beers.
They didn't get Jägermeister, and they couldn't go down under the fucking. So these people are sitting there for 8 hours sometimes.
We got a lot of
2 beers.
We got down
a lot of downtime
there quite a bit. Every audience, there must have been like a home nearby. Some guys who've been going to TV shows. So I got a picture of 2 retarded older fellas sitting there in sweatpants. They were like, "You guys have been here before, haven't you?"
So you have a captive audience in that they can't leave.
Yeah.
They're discouraged from even going to the restroom because you don't know when all of a sudden the director's going to go and action.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things where when someone is said they're the hoople heads sitting in the audience, they can't move until someone tells them it's okay.
Could you imagine having to sit through like waiting for Rogan to sober up for a fucking hour on bleacher seats, going, man, just say the line, man. It's half of Stanhope's act. Just
and then thinking a chick is hot, and then all of a sudden you're like 3/4 of the way through your second beer, and it's like, oh my god, that's why girl has a dick.
That's why the best place to be was under the bleachers, because it was an uncomfortableness to the tapings after the song played and then the first piece stumbled out.
Intro.
Well, they would do a rollout piece, but then the studio pieces would be hit and miss. So it would be like restart and after restart while these people sat there. And then, it wasn't a well-oiled machine. And sometimes an audience would sit there for 60 minutes and sometimes they were there for 2 hours, but they only got 2 small cups of beer, no matter how long they were there. And
when you guys did the rollout pieces, did they throw to the rollout piece and then the audience got to watch it live?
Yeah, they just have
like as it played on monitors or something.
Yeah.
Oh God, how horrible!
Yeah. It was pretty much a sucky experience for them, and there was very limited fun to be had, especially outside of that room that I hung out in. It was just fucking boring production of fucking. But really, I think most of the monologues were taken from Stanhope's old material and divided into 2 speaking parts. That was the brilliance of Fitzsimmons. It's like he was always busy and vital, but I don't think he did anything.
Copied.
A nod to you, sir.
That's how I got through community college. I just wrote like 2 or 3 papers the first semester, and then I just reworked them through all the rest of the whole fucking time.
I got through community college the old-fashioned way. I just stopped attending.
Yeah, aren't you wearing the sweatshirt for it?
Yeah.
College.
Yeah.
College.
Well, when you're banned from campus, not coming back is pretty much your only place. So, not attending is what else can you do?
I got a degree because they remembered and sent me a degree. I stopped going, and then a year and a half later, they sent me. It's like, hey, you left this here, and it was an Associate of Science degree. I got it. Oh shit! Yeah, I could use that for nothing.
I'm sitting on an Associates of Arts degree from LBCC. I've never gone there to get it. I feel like all the legal problems are behind us. and I can. I
Do you think
can.
they have it dusty in a room somewhere?
Well, but I never got it, so maybe I could go
Is this
get
guy
it.
ever gonna show up? We're waiting for him.
How about an associate's art degree to lend credibility to this whole situation back here? So it's
But
an
you
art.
Beige behind you, beige on brown.
Yeah.
My-
He's made himself more of a
mine-
minimalist.
That's just a car. That's a car screen I stapled up to the door.
Oh, we know.
I
Andy,
have
it
a,
shows.
I have a associate's degree in business management is my associate's degree,
Wow.
and I also graduated. I was part of what's the Phi Theta Kappa.
Wow.
The fucking I got to wear the purple sash. If I didn't go to
Jesus
the thing,
Christ.
but I was.
Well, where did you wear the
graduate
sash
with
to then?
honors At the just here around the house. It was,
To make eggs.
I wrapped my gi in my purple sash.
Look, honey, I'm a purple belt.
I'm a black belt.
it might have been a
Wait,
gold
he's
sash.
a
I don't
brown. He just
remember.
wrapped his sash
Yeah,
around the
yeah.
fucking brown belt.
What did you do to earn it? I have
Yeah.
it.
I wish I could go back to graduation now and know that you get special people go, oh, that's cool. He has that. And I just get a bunch of, I'd go to a fabric store and get like 15 different things to drape around my shit. Yeah, I graduated. I
A
graduated.
bunch of dead birds. Like, I don't think that guy actually won any special.
Me and my
Is
Is
best
that an
friend.
albatross? Did he
Yeah.
tie an albatross around his own neck? Is that
Well,
a metaphor?
He didn't say ornithology. I don't know.
He's an English major for sure. That's definitely
It's
an
like-
English,
It's
English
like when
lit
Bob
major.
died and we all wore black tape on our helmet, to symbolize what's that? Oh man, somebody must have died. No, it's my dog, but people get carried away. But I do a sash. I was in the FFA until it got uncomfortable. I
Wait,
coulda
how
went
did it
out-
get? At what point did it get
Well,
uncomfortable?
That goes back
So
to
FFA is
issues with
Future
Andy.
Farmers of
That's
America.
issues Andy #1 right
Absolutely
there.
huh?
correct. Absolutely correct. And I
That's
don't even want to start that at
we
this
can't
point
even
because
get into
that's
that.
too
I
long of a
want to
story.
know about it.
well,
Yeah,
that's
well,
where
we'll
I-
tell. That's
you know,
you just have
it
to say
involves
that.
retards and
You
neuters.
have to
Setting
say
up,
that.
Erickson.
No,
I'm setting up for the
I
next
know.
one.
Now
Yeah.
you're spoiler.
Cliffhanger.
Now
Mr.
you-
Britain's
don't spoiler
Vietnam
alert.
flashbacks.
Don't spoil
know?
it, Andy, by even saying anything.
I started watching
Yeah.
that Spike Lee movie, but I wish he would have hired younger actors for the Vietnam years because he has the same actors. And it's like, man, that was an old fucking dude in Vietnam and he's still around. But anyway, it's a good movie.
Wait,
and-
Talking
but
about the
they-
5 Bloods.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
hired, but like
Glad you
Vietnam
knew that.
had young and old people in it, Andy.
Well, I know,
Yeah,
but they
mostly
tried to
young
do that, what they did with all the NBA players. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like
Well,
the one dude who dies looked like he's 18,
Don't
and then all
spoil-
the other
yeah,
brothers
spoiler
are like
alerts
in
for
their
everybody
30s.
else.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie. Hold
No
on.
one's seen it. Now,
I
spoiler alert. Like, oh, the one who dies, that guy.
Well, he died, that's fairly early on established because there's
All
four
right.
guys who meet, and there's a fifth one who ain't there. Anyway, I'm
Okay,
not all the
right,
way
I get
through.
it. All right.
All right,
Does
here
that
we
make
go.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
you
We're winding up. We're winding up.
guys are
I
changing
could
the
do this.
subject.
I could do.
change the
I could
subject.
do 2 more hours of this
Andy.
because I got that much. I got that much Applejack.
And,
You know, Big Jim. You know
God.
what
Well,
Big Jim got
I
his
don't- I don't-
associate.
that's just the Laird talking right now, Shaylee. You got to calm down.
Yeah.
Andy,
You know
you're
what?
in the pilot seat, so you're the one who has to bring this
Okay.
plane
You
in
know
for a
what?
landing.
You know what?
right
Big Jim
See what
got
you
his
do.
associate's a degree in. Big
Yeah.
Jim and the crew
now.
got
Camping.
having a good
They
time.
called it glamping.
Glamping.
There it
you
is.
just need a glitter canyon and an RV, and you're
Glitter
out-
Canyon, motherfucker. Not no
Big
canyon.
Jim.
Some melted crayons, and then you get melted and get right down with them. Midget level. Get down to Arturo level.
Oh,
Hey,
It's a
Star-
metaphor. Melting with Big Jim.
He looks like he has flipper hands. I mean Arturo.
all right.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah,
That's what Arturo said.
that's what he was saying, right? In that when that
Oh.
picture was taken.
Oh, the
best
whole
thing
time
with-
they were
The
filming.
best thing with Arturo is he was mad at the producers, and we hired him back, and he was like sick of it anyway. But he was blue balls, and he got to hit stuff with a baseball bat, like TVs or beers, and that's what that car was later used for. That me and Doug smashed up. But it was like Arturo got to unleash angry energy as the Incredible Hulk. That's probably the one clip of Man Show I would love to see, because it was like I'd never seen him before. I'd never watched the old Man Show because I'm not a misogynist pig. But I watched that dude. That dude's live energy, because there'd never been an interesting studio piece after Joey Diaz ran with his balls out at the very beginning, and then Arturo smashing shit up and spraying foam all over and just taking no prisoners. Little man with an aluminum bat. I fucking instantly wanted to hang out with that dude.
I remember that skit, but I cannot find anything on the web.
The premise was it was like
Blue Balls comes up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the premise was it's a nice guy at a bar who's like trying to tip.
Yeah. No, I remember the skit.
And he gets angry and he shrinks up into an angry little midget of a person.
That's pretty great. That's pretty great.
Little person.
That's getting
bigger.
Bigger. No, a midget. No, listen,
it was
a
midget. And angry. Yeah, but man, when he took that bat to shit, it's like I that's like if I ever was a tough guy and needed tough guys, I would bring midgets into like hey, you don't want to pay our fucking thing, and then have midgets smash it up.
It'll definitely get the other person to think twice about fighting you, because they have to think about, wait a minute. If I lose to a bunch of midgets, I can't recover from that. And obviously this guy brought midgets, so he's got a plan, like I may be under my head.
You don't want to see
Don't bring a midget to a tall person fight.
This is my C team. You don't even want to get into the B's.
This guy's probably got more midgets. I guarantee you.
I got some under.
This guy's flush with midgets.
I got some people from third world countries that are fucking under nutritious, fuck.
We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. We love you.
Can't do it by myself.
This is my favorite podcast so far.